At dawn on December 1, 1944, the Atlantic wind carried two sounds across the sandy flats of Thiaroye: the rattle of rifle bolts and the quiet murmur of men who believed the war was finally behind them. They were the Tirailleurs Sénégalais, West African soldiers of the French colonial army, home at last after years of fighting a European war that was never theirs to begin with. Many had survived the fall of France in 1940, endured captivity in German POW camps, and marched back under the tricolor believing victory would mean dignity, pay, and recognition. Thiaroye, a military camp on the outskirts of Dakar, Senegal, was supposed to be a brief stop on the road to civilian life. Instead it became a grave. The road to Thiaroye. Between August and November 1944, thousands of African soldiers were repatriated from Europe after the Allied liberation of France. They were promised the same demobilization pay as their white French counterparts: arrears of wages, bonuses, and benefits owed for years of service and captivity. But when the soldiers arrived in Dakar in late November 1944, the promises shrank. French colonial authorities informed them that they would be paid less, their wages recalculated at older colonial rates rather than the updated French scale. Some were even asked to exchange their European currency for local francs at unfavorable rates. For men who had worn French uniforms under German fire, the message was clear: victory had not changed their status. The soldiers protested, firmly but without arms. They refused to board trains to their home regions until the pay issue was resolved. On November 30, 1944, a tense standoff unfolded. A French general was briefly detained by the soldiers during negotiations, then released unharmed. It was a political embarrassment, not an armed mutiny. But colonial power rarely distinguishes between dignity and defiance. December 1, 1944. In the early hours of the morning, French troops, armed with machine guns and armored vehicles, surrounded the Thiaroye camp. At approximately 6:30 a.m., they opened fire on the unarmed veterans. The official French report would later claim 35 soldiers were killed. Historians, survivors, and later investigations tell a darker story. Between 70 and over 300 men may have died, many shot as they fled, others executed at close range. Bodies were buried in unmarked mass graves. The camp was washed clean of blood before journalists arrived. The dead had survived Nazi camps only to be killed by the army they served. Silence, then punishment. The massacre did not end with gunfire. Surviving soldiers were court-martialed, accused of mutiny, and sentenced to prison terms. Their demands for pay were officially erased. Families were never informed of where the bodies lay. For decades, the French state maintained its version of events: brief, sanitized, and final. It was not until 2012 that France officially acknowledged the massacre as an injustice. In 2014, then-President François Hollande recognized the event publicly in Dakar. Reparations, however, remained symbolic. The mass graves stayed unmarked. Why Thiaroye still matters. Thiaroye is not only a massacre, it is a mirror. It reflects the contradiction of colonial wars: empires that demanded loyalty but denied equality, soldiers praised in death yet dismissed in life. The Tirailleurs Sénégalais fought fascism abroad and met colonial violence at home. Today their story survives in archives, oral histories, and in Ousmane Sembène's 1988 film Camp de Thiaroye, which dared to break the silence when governments would not. And the cliff still stands. Somewhere beneath the soil of Thiaroye, names remain missing. No official list. No marked graves. And the question still echoes through the camp's empty ground. How many men must die for a nation to admit the truth? And how long can history wait before silence becomes another crime? To watch the full video, click the link on our bio, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting hidden historical fact.